Hello, I'm Mandy Lockley. I'm an astrologer. Surprise! If you're watching this on my YouTube channel, On Purpose Astrology, then you'll know that I'm an astrologer. And I thought it's 2026. And I've been doing this channel for well over a year now, but I had a bit of a hiatus, and it's time to really relaunch and fire some new energy into things. So I thought I would introduce myself properly, which I don't think I've done before. I'm an astrologer. I've been an astrologer for over 20 years, a student of astrology for much, much longer. I'm not just an astrologer, though, either. I'm also a psychic medium. I work with clients. I can bring through their loved ones, which can be very comforting. Also, give psychic messages as well. And I'm also a Reiki master, and I work my preference actually and my love is to work with pets and with animals, so I can do distant or in-person healing with pets that have perhaps an illness, or they're recovering from an accident or a chronic disease, and I can work with them and give them some amazing relief, always, of course, always in conjunction and as a complement to professional veterinary care, of course. But back to the astrology. It's 2026. Are you feeling it yet? Are you feeling these new energies? Are you feeling this sense of something is about to happen? Something is about to emerge. It's a time of opportunity. It's a time to really ground our spirituality, if we're spiritually minded, which I am. The astrology that I practice, I would call myself a humanistic slash psychological astrologer, trained at the London School of Astrology, plus other schools I've dipped in and out of as well, and I had their diploma. And I've also evolved a little bit more into a spiritual astrologer as well. And what do I mean by that? Well, for me, astrology really is a spiritual practice in and of itself, because it's about having faith in the cycles, not just the cycles of the planets, but the cycles in our own lives. We think about famously the Saturn cycle. Every 7 years, there's a connection between your Saturn in your birth chart and Saturn as it's moving through the sky. 7 year cycle is really important. So we can follow these cycles. We can follow what happens at these 7 year cycles when Saturn meets Saturn in the Saturn return. Then there's this first square, and then there's the opposition, and then there's the final square. And finally, when you get to the kind of age that I am now, you have your second Saturn return, that age of wisdom. So I'm stepping into that age of wisdom, I hope, anyway. But for me, astrology is about co-creating with the planets. There's a language in astrology. Astrology is a language. This is what I love about astrology. It's a language, and there's always more fluency to be found in our lives, in the way that we interact with our astrology, in the way that the planetary movements reflect how things pan out in our lives. Now, I'm not the kind of astrologer who will give a prediction in terms of, yes, I want to buy a new house. Yes, you're going to buy a new house on this date, or this is when you're going to get married. This is where you're going to have a baby. I'm not in the business of predicting these things, although clients ask these kind of questions all the time. So how do we work with it? Well, we learn through astrology, or I've learned through astrology, most astrologers do, to be in tune with the energies. That's why rather than making predictions, I call it forecasting. It's a bit like the weather forecast. As I'm recording this today in London on a Thursday morning, it's wet, it's raining, it's grey, it's dull. So you want to go outside with at least a waterproof jacket or an umbrella, waterproof boots. On a sunshiny day, we might need a little bit of sunblock, for example. We can also appreciate all the different weathers. I don't want to push this analogy too far, but when we're having certain transits, when we're having certain measurements of movements in the sky to our own chart, it's a little bit like weather forecasting. Is it time to go out there in the blazing sunshine and, I don't know, peel off a few layers and have start a new adventures? Or is it time to be a bit more protective, to be a bit more cautious? We're talking Saturn here when we talk about caution, of course. We're talking about opportunity and optimism when we talk about Jupiter and sunshine, for example. So I help my clients really to create to co-create with the astrology, to be in tune with the energies, so enable clients to work positively with those energies. Now, there's always little things that come from left field that kind of, whoa, which are surprising, but we can do a lot to work with those energies. And that's what I mean about when I first mentioned about astrology being a language. There's a danger in astrology, and as professional astrologers, if I'm in a group of professional astrologers, we still go, Saturn's doing this to me and Uranus is doing that to me. But that's not accurate. That's not accurate in the way I feel and understand and the way I've studied and my experience of astrology. We reflect, as above, so below. We reflect the energies of the planets. And if we can be in tune with the planets and their cycles and understand their symbolism and basically understand their resonance and their symbolism and their all the things that are associated with each planet and with each planetary cycle. We have a Jupiter-Saturn cycle, we have a Mars-Saturn cycle, we have a Venus-Sun cycle, for example. All of these planets have their own cycles, and all of the cycles, they all interweave and interlap, and this is where it gets really interesting, and this is where it really does reflect real life, because real life is very complicated and things weave in and out. How many of us have felt that something's gone amazing, something's going so well in one part of our lives, we might have met the love of our lives, but our career feels like it's going nowhere, and vice versa. And these are how the interweaving cycles can reflect what is happening in our world, and to give us insight, to give us wisdom, to give us the tools that we need to work with the energies in a more positive way. What I'm saying here is that my aim is to teach through the talks that I do online and the talks that I do for groups and conferences, to teach that we co-create with the astrology when we understand the cycles and we understand the symbolism. And we've done the inner work. I think for me, it's important to do the inner work. And if you are interested in astrology, if you're interested in having an astrology consultation, of course, go to my website on purposeastrology.com. You can claim, I've got a £20 discount on consultations at the moment. You can claim a further £20 off a consultation if you come to me on my website and just write YouTube, or even Instagram, because I'm going to put this on Instagram as well, probably, if it's not too long, because I'm prone to sort of talking too much. But if it's not too long, or I will edit, put it on Instagram. So connect to me via my website on purposeastrology.com with the wording in it, just mention YouTube or Instagram, and you'll get a further £20 off a consultation with me for 2026, right? Look at your birth chart, but also look at your forecasting for the year ahead. Well, I hope that's interesting. Oh, I want to mention another thing as well. One of my hot topics at the moment, one of the things that I've been working on for the last few years, is how to use astrology to really find and understand and to live your life more purposely, to find your life purpose. I've written a book called The On Purpose Life, On Purpose Life by Mandy Lockley. You can buy it on Amazon, you can buy it on paperback or on Kindle. This is not an astrology book. You don't need to know or understand any kind of astrology. It's a textbook full of anecdotes, full of wisdom, full of exercises, and it's a really interesting and unique process that through the writing of this book I've developed that will help you go from asking that question, what is my life purpose, all the way through to making it happen, to moving into aligning with and taking action to live a more purposeful life. As I say, it's not an astrology book for astrologers. I am currently working on the astrological version of that book, really how to use astrology specifically to find life purpose. And that's a focus often of some of the consultations that I do. If you're interested in the consultation, please get in touch. If you have a question, please get in touch. If you are organising a conference or an event, or you're part of a local astrology group, and you want me to give a talk on any subject around anything really, I've done all sorts of lots of subjects that I've done talks and conference talks on. You can find more about that on my website. Do get in touch again through my website, and you're welcome to book me. If you want references, you can take them. I'll stop there. I don't want to make this too salesy. I want to enthuse you generally into astrology. We're in a really interesting time. We're in a time where everything is coming to start anew. We're in a time of endings, and we might be feeling that sense of things coming to an end in our lives and in the world. We might be a little bit afraid because things seem to be changing, and things seem to be changing really, really quickly. And this speed of change is going to speed up even more quickly as we move more into the fire and air. When we move into the fire and air element more deeply, we're going to find the pace of change. So we're going to be going from endings to new beginnings. So take this time. I'm doing this talk in January, on the 15th of January. We're just coming up to a new moon in a few days. Take this time to really start to plan, but perhaps be a little bit patient for a little bit longer before launching your new projects or your new beginnings, or stepping into your new beginnings, because there is a process. This is another thing with astrology. These cycles always have, even when we look at the lunar cycle, the new moon, and then 29 days later it goes round again, and you've got a new cycle of the moon. And that's a cycle that we can follow in our lives, of new beginnings with the new moon. It's time for planning, it's time for seeding, all the way through to the halfway point, which is the peak, which is the full moon, when things come to light, when things seem to flow a little bit more easily, but are also quite intense, and we can see where we are. And then the moon starts to wane again towards the new moon. So not only does the moon do this, but the planets do the same thing as well. So whether we're talking about Mars, Venus, Mercury, our personal planets, but also if we're talking about Jupiter, Saturn, and the outer planets as well. So there's all that kind of beautiful resonance when we're talking about cycles. So we can look at the cycles, we can examine the cycles, and I'm going to be talking a lot more about the Saturn-Neptune cycle, the Uranus-Pluto cycle, those big outer planet cycles that are so important to the world at the moment, in future talks. I hope you've enjoyed listening. Thank you so much. Please do connect. Doesn't matter, even if you don't want to book me, or you're not interested in a consultation, it'd be lovely to connect. And please subscribe to this YouTube channel. I'm relaunching it. I'm putting more fresh energy into it. As I say, it's a time of new beginnings, so that I can reach more people and share my passion with them. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.